right, here we go with our final example, example 3. This time I noticed that there are only variables on one side, which is okay, but this is still a multi-step inequality because there's a lot that I'm gonna have to do before I get this simplified. So I noticed that on the right side of the equation, inequality, there are 2 sets of parentheses, which means that I'm going to have to distribute twice. So I'm going to start with my first set and I'm going to distribute a negative. Now you should recall, or maybe you don't, that how do I distribute a negative? Because it means to multiply, but how do I multiply by just a negative sign? And so one thing that we will remember always is that when you see a negative sign outside of the parentheses, you can put a little 1 here and it's like multiplying by -1. You will not see me write that every time. It's just kind of an unwritten rule, but we need to get familiar with that and know that a negative really means multiply by -1. So far nothing is happening on this left side, so I'm just going to keep that -5 and keep my inequality symbol, and when I multiply this out. So that's going to give me -7c, and then that's going to give me -13. Now I will say that I talked about this last week also. Do not write plus -13. You do not want to have 2 symbols, you just want 1. So if that turns into a negative, we only want the minus sign in the middle, okay? Then I see the second set of parentheses, there is a 4, a +4. So when I multiply these things by +4, we're going to end up with a +4c and a +20. So step 1, I have distributed. I know that I'm done distributing because my parentheses are gone. After we distribute, we always check to see, is there any way that I can combine like terms? It definitely looks like I have some things that are alike. So I see here I have a -7c and here a +4c. So when I combine those together, they're going to make -3c. Then it looks like I have a -13 and a +20. So when I combine those, I will get +7. All right. Nothing happened on this side, so I'm just going to bring those things down to rewrite my inequality, sorry. Now I have a 2-step inequality. Again, I'm trying to get this c by itself, so I need to get rid of these other things. So I'm going to first start by getting rid of +7 by doing the opposite, which is -7. Do it on both sides. After some calculating, we get -12 is less than -3c. Almost done. We just need to get rid of our coefficient. Remember, to get rid of that, we are going to divide. And remember, it's the negative and the 3. So please divide by -3. When we do that, we are going to be left with 4. And remember, we divided by a negative, so we are going to have to flip. So we flip that inequality symbol, and here we are left with c. All right, so we read this as 4 is greater than c, but we can also rewrite this inequality so that if we read it backwards, it would be c is less than 4. All right, so when I do this switch, what I'm looking for is to make sure that if I switch these 2 things, that I'm also switching the symbol in the middle. Notice that when I finish, the inequality is opening towards the 4 and pointing at the c. And when I rewrite it, it is still doing that same thing. It's opening towards the 4 and it is pointing at the c. So that tells me that even though these 2 things look different, these are actually the same. So you need to be able to read the inequality no matter where the variable is. So we can read this as 4 is greater than c, or c is less than 4. These 2 statements, again, are the same.